Read all the stories about BYU sports no one else has heard. Go to KSLSports.com for exclusive columns by BYU insider Mitch Harper. That's KSLSports.com.
Final segment of the final hour of First and 12 right here of this 2024 football season. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry, thanks for being with us. Our program is always brought to you by the folks at Macy's. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from your local farms and your local favorite brands. Happy shopping from Macy's. Macy's, of course, awesome sponsors of First and 12. We appreciate their patronage throughout the season and keeping this program going here for us. Mitch, let's jump in a little bit here because we don't have a conference slate to go through here. We got a conference championship game between ASU and Iowa State. We mentioned a little bit about how we think that thing's going to go. But the conference overall, what's the health of this thing? Because it's only 2 years of this 16-team conference. You've got a shoot-from-the-hip, wily, energetic commissioner who obviously wants a lot out of this conference. He wants to see them grow. But I think that they were hampered a little bit by some of their own success. I mean, in a weird way, the top of this conference was winning so much this year and all beating themselves and all beating each other. And even the middle of the conference started to wake up and beat some of those teams as well. You had a very competitive conference that, according to other people from the outside looking in, looks like a conference that just is not as good as the other big conferences across the land. And I just don't think that's true.
I'm with you completely. I mean, this is a good football product, and it's maybe they don't have the 90,000 seat stadiums. Maybe they don't have the fan bases that'll go poison a tree after a rivalry game. I don't know. Like if that's what it's measuring, the just means more stuff. I don't know. But this Big 12 has got some really good coaching, some great resources, committed to winning at the highest level universities, and it's going to be highly competitive. Now, I think going forward and in the near future here, in Arizona State, if we do see them get into the playoff, they've got to win. This league has got to win in the playoff to earn respect because clearly the College Football Playoff Committee has set the message that they view the Big 12 a little bit above the Group of Five, and that's frustrating and discouraging, quite frankly, because it might be even less respected than in some Group of Five programs because you see Boise ranked higher than ASU. I think that they've got to get into the playoff and they've got to win. Brett Yormark made a bold decision to have a look-in clause, I believe, in year 3 of the college football playoff where they kind of reevaluate things because right now the Big 12 has the lowest playoff distribution cut in the playoff money. And he fought for a look-in clause to kind of reevaluate things after the 3rd or 4th year and in hopes that the Big 12 can get a bigger cut of revenue. Well, after the first year of this 12-team iteration, it feels like it's trending towards the Big 12 is going to be on a pace to stay as the 4th biggest cut or smallest cut among the power conferences. That's got to change. And, the Big 12 just got to go into this playoff and win. And I think Chris Kleiman, as you noted, the head coach of K-State, he pointed out that in spring meetings coming up, they have got to, identify and really fix their ways when it comes to football and maximizing their bids in the playoff. Because, you could see a situation now in the ACC where maybe 3 teams, maybe not now with Miami losing, but SMU and Clemson maybe could get in still. If SMU loses to Clemson, they still maybe could qualify for an at-large bid. That's just crazy to think because I feel like the ACC does not have the depth that the Big 12 has, but yet they're kind of in the ones that are a much better position than the Big 12. So something's got to change, and that Brett Yormark's always going to be aggressive when it comes to potential realignment moves and things like that, but the football product has to get better in this league, and they've got to have a top dog every single year that without fail, you just kind of go, oh, yeah, in the preseason in July, that team is going to be in the mix. And right now they don't have that, and I think that kind of hurts them. And I hate how that's a thing in college football, but really the preseason hype and buzz, it needs to be completely thrown out, but yet this committee kind of latches on to these – this team, they got all these 5-star recruits, and they look good getting off the bus, and they got the game control metric, and they got this and that. Like, the Big 12's just got to go into the playoff, and they got to start winning, and they got to change narratives, and they've got to have teams like BYU, like Arizona State, follow up this great year with another big year. You can't go back to 4-8. You can't go back to 5-7. You got to have another 10-win year, and then it starts to build up, and it starts to mount, and maybe you're then becoming a little bit more respected product nationally, because right now it feels like they're not respected on the same footing as their power conference peers.
The thing that's weird about this conference and the unfortunate thing about college football, Mitch, is that their biggest marketing piece in the offseason is, hey, let's throw together some preseason rankings. Let's throw together some way too early rankings. And once those preseason rankings come out, you already have kind of an established, pecking order that really doesn't make any sense. I mean, it really doesn't make any sense to do it until it actually happens in that week 8, week 9 when they actually throw the first college football
I'm going to be hitting you up in January coming up for way too early rankings. So
1,000% we're going to be doing it, right? But at the same time, like, that's actually where a lot of these teams – and look, I'll tell you why. That's why Miami was ranked as high as they were for as long as they were.
Sure.
And we're still just kind of hanging around that mid-single digits until they finally lost to Syracuse for the second. I think they're not even in the ACC championship game. It's going to be SMU and Clemson. It's so weird. It's really wild because Miami was just like, oh, Mario Cristobal, he's turning that whole thing around. I bet. Let's put him at number 9, right? I mean, that's how they started the season off.
Honestly, I think it's fitting that in the Big 12 Conference Championship game, the halftime performer, of course, with the bands, because as Brett Yormark likes to say, they like to infuse culture. The Neo is going to perform, and he's going to sing, I'm so sick, so sick, so sick of the committee not respecting the Big 12. It's fitting. Neo needs to do like a specialized Big 12 rendition of So Sick, because the Big 12 is so sick and tired of college football not respecting this league. They've been taking all these unnecessary punches from the Nick Sabans of the world, the Lane Kiffins, just basically discrediting this league. And then you see Ole Miss over the weekend going up against Mississippi State, a winless Mississippi State team. They had to go full 60 minutes. Arizona State absolutely dominated Mississippi State. And then you see Boise State going into Laramie, struggling against Wyoming. That's okay. It's just, it's a tough environment in Laramie. Arizona State blew out Wyoming. BYU dominated Wyoming in Laramie. Like, why does the Big 12 not get any bit of the doubt? And if they lose a game, man, they tumble in the rankings. Whereas the SEC, well, it's a tough environment. Or it's the SEC. Like, it's just like, we love this sport so much, Alex, but at the same time, it's one of the dumbest sports on the planet. And that's what's so frustrating, because it is such an incredible product. When you watch these games, even outside the Big 12, you watch a Georgia Tech, and you go, no, everyone forgot about media rights dollars in that moment. You're just like, this is high-level football being played with so much on the line, and you just love it. And that's the same with a lot of these Big 12 games. No one's talking about the media rights money. Oh, like when you get between the lines, we're not looking at Cam Scadaboo and going, oh, how did Arizona State produce this guy? They only get $31.5 million in media rights, whereas the SEC gets 70. You don't talk about that. It's about the talent, the development, building a roster, building that chemistry. And the Big 12's got some great fan bases. They got some great coaches. This league's good, and it's entertaining, and there's just great personalities. And I just feel like I don't know what it's going to take to kind of get on that stage and kind of amplify this conference. But the only way that I feel like it can be done is you got to get in that playoff and earn the respect by winning some big games and not having a 65-7 beatdown when you get to the playoff, because even when you get to the national title, they're just like, well, you lost 65-7, so you're not for real. Even though you got to the national championship, like you got to respect that you got to the final 2. That's what TCU did a couple years ago. So it's frustrating, but man, I love covering this league. I love kind of following it and seeing what they can become and building this thing up and seeing what this 16-team era really takes shape as in the future.
Well, let's do it again next year, Mitch. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry, our producer all season long is Eric Cabrera. He does a phenomenal job. Eric sits off in the in the back and records all these for us and gets them all going and gets all the sound for us and just does a phenomenal job. You can hear him on KSL News Radio as a reporter during the week as well. So we love the effort that Eric does, and this is a three-person team. He's just as big of a deal and as important as any of us here on this program. So for Eric, for Mitch, I'm Alex. We'll be back again next year for another edition of First and 12, year number 3. We'll see you next time, everybody, right here, KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.